Then she turned toward me fully. But I do believe jealousy can destroy good things if we let it. The truth in her words stung slightly. Because she was right. I didn't like seeing her tonight, I admitted. Her hand reached for mine. You think she matters to me? I know she mattered once. She pulled me closer gently. Elena. Yes. You're the only person who has ever made me afraid to lose something. My breath caught. She brushed her lips softly against mine. Once. Then again. Slower. More certain. Does that answer your question? I smiled softly. Yes. Later that night, back in our apartment, the tension from the evening finally broke. Adrianne pulled me into her arms near the window overlooking the city. You drive me insane sometimes, she murmured. Why? Because you make me feel things I can't control. My arms wrapped around her waist. That's not a bad thing. Her forehead rested against mine. It's terrifying. Why? Because I've spent my whole life being the strongest person in the room. And now? Her voice softened. Now I'm just someone who loves you. I kissed her then. Slow. Deep. The kind of kiss that erased the entire world outside the room. When we finally pulled apart, she whispered against my lips. You're still choosing me. Always. And in that moment I understood something clearly. Love isn't calm. It isn't predictable. It's messy. Complicated. Sometimes jealous. Sometimes overwhelming. But when it's real, it's worth every storm. Love stories rarely break all at once. They crack slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, until one moment changes everything. 2 weeks after the gala, everything seemed normal again. The campaign was thriving. The agency was busier than ever. And Adrianne and I had fallen back into our rhythm, late nights, quiet dinners, small stolen moments between meetings. But something strange began happening at work. A confidential strategy proposal leaked. Not publicly, but enough for a competing agency to suddenly pitch the exact same campaign structure. The board was furious. The room was tense during the emergency meeting. Someone inside the company had leaked information, and the board wanted answers. Adrianne sat at the head of the table, calm but colder than I had ever seen her. Her voice was sharp. This company was built on trust. Silence. Someone in this room broke that trust. No one spoke. Then the board chairman slid a file across the table. Unfortunately, the evidence points to one person. My stomach tightened. Adrianne opened the file. Her expression didn't change, but I saw the flicker in her eyes. The moment of disbelief. Then she looked up slowly. At me. The room felt suddenly too small. What is this? I asked quietly. The chairman spoke. Login records show that your system accessed and downloaded the campaign file the night before the leak. My heart started pounding. That's impossible. The chairman continued. The same files were sent from your account. I shook my head. No. I would never. Adrianne's voice interrupted softly. Elena. Just my name. But the doubt in it cut deeper than anything else. I turned toward her. You think I did this? Her silence lasted only a second. But it felt like an hour. I need to understand what happened. The words felt like a blade. Because they weren't trust. They were caution. I left the building 30 minutes later. Not fired. Not accused publicly. But suspended until the investigation finished. The elevator ride down felt surreal. The same elevator where I had first met Adrianne. The same building where we built everything together. And now, I was walking out alone. The next 3 days were unbearable. No calls. No messages. Just silence. Part of me understood why. Adrianne had a company to protect. But another part of me was breaking quietly. Because the one person I needed to believe me was the only one who hadn't. On the 4th night, someone knocked on my apartment door. When I opened it, Adrianne was standing there. She looked exhausted. Her hair slightly messy. Her eyes darker than usual. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then I said quietly, "Did you come to fire me officially?" Her jaw tightened. "I came to apologize." My heart skipped. For what? For not trusting you immediately. I crossed my arms. You didn't. No. Her voice was honest. Painfully honest. And that's something I'll regret for the rest of my life if you don't let me fix it. My chest tightened. What changed? She stepped inside slowly. We finished the investigation tonight. And? It wasn't you. Relief washed over me so suddenly my knees almost gave out. Then who? Clara. The name hit like thunder. She manipulated the security system through an external contact. My mind raced. She wanted revenge. Adrianne's voice softened. For losing me. The room went quiet. Then I asked the question I hadn't wanted to ask. You believed it might be me. Her eyes filled with regret. For one moment. That honesty hurt. But it also mattered. Because Adrianne never lied. I should have trusted you immediately, she said quietly. You're the one person who never gave me a reason not to. I looked away. That moment mattered. I know. The silence stretched between us. Then Adrianne stepped closer. Elena, look at me. I didn't want to. But I did. Her eyes were full of something I had rarely seen in her before. Fear. I spent 3 days imagining my life without you, she whispered. And it terrified me. My voice was softer now. You hurt me. I know. She reached for my hands carefully. Not forcing. Just offering. Tell me how to fix it. My chest felt tight. You can't erase it. No. Her fingers tightened gently around mine. But I can prove something. What? That I will fight for us. Her voice cracked slightly. And I never fight for anything halfway. I studied her face. The woman who was always confident. Always controlled. Standing here now, vulnerable. And completely honest. My heart softened. You really thought you might lose me? Yes. The answer came instantly. I stepped closer. So, what are you going to do about it? A slow smile appeared. The dangerous one. The one I loved. Then she pulled me into her arms. And kissed me. Not careful. Not hesitant. The kind of kiss that carried 3 days of fear, relief, and love all at once. When we finally pulled apart, she whispered against my forehead. I'm never doubting you again. Good. Her thumb brushed my cheek. Come back to the agency tomorrow. As your employee? She shook her head. As my partner. My eyes widened slightly. What does that mean? Her smile returned. I told the board tonight that the company's biggest strategic asset wasn't a campaign. What was it? You. My heart skipped. So tomorrow you're not returning as Chief Strategy Officer. Then what? She kissed my forehead softly. Co-CEO. I stared at her. You're serious. I've never been more serious. Then she added quietly. And Elena. Yes. You were right about one thing. What? Her voice softened. I don't want to run this empire alone anymore. That night we stood by the window together. The city glowing below. The same skyline that had seen our first kiss. Our first fight. Our first promise. Adrianne wrapped her arms around me from behind. You still choose me, she murmured. I leaned back against her. Always. Because the truth about love is this. It doesn't survive because it's perfect. It survives because two people decide, again and again, that it's worth fighting for. 1 year after the night Adrianne almost lost me. We were stronger than ever. The agency had grown. Our new leadership structure shocked the industry. 2 women running one of the most powerful creative companies in the country. Some people called it bold. Some called it risky. Adrianne called it obvious. You were always meant to run this with me, she told me once during a board meeting. And somehow, hearing that still made my heart skip. Our first wedding anniversary arrived quietly. No huge parties. No media attention. Just a Saturday morning. Coffee. Sunlight coming through the apartment windows. And Adrianne sitting across from me at the kitchen island, wearing that oversized gray sweater I loved so much. She looked at me over her coffee cup. You know something? What? You're still the best decision I've ever made. I laughed. You say that every week. Yes. And I'm right every week. I leaned across the counter and kissed her softly. Happy anniversary. Her arms wrapped around my waist immediately, pulling me closer. Happy anniversary, Elena. The kiss deepened slightly. Slow. Comfortable. The kind of kiss that only exists after years of choosing each other. When we finally pulled apart, she smiled. I have a surprise. I raised an eyebrow. That sounds dangerous. It might be. 2 hours later, we were standing in Portland. The same city where we had gotten married. The same small waterfront park where we exchanged vows. Adrianne had arranged everything quietly. A picnic. Flowers. Even the same violinist who had played during our ceremony. I stared at her. You planned all of this? She shrugged slightly. You deserve romance too. I laughed softly. You run a multi-million-dollar company, and you still have time to plan secret anniversaries. Her eyes softened. For you? Always. We sat together on the blanket overlooking the water. The wind moved gently through the trees. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. Until my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Message from Sophia. Sophia was one of our closest friends and Adrianne's younger cousin. She and her wife Lena had been married for 3 years. I opened the message, then froze. What? Adrianne asked. I looked up slowly. You might want to read this. She took my phone. Her eyes moved across the screen, then widened slightly. Well, I blinked. That's not a normal reaction. She handed the phone back to me. Sophia's message read, We need to talk. Lena is pregnant. I stared at the screen again. They weren't planning that. Adrianne smiled slightly. Life rarely asks for permission. Later that evening we met them for dinner. Sophia looked nervous. Lena looked glowing. Adrianne hugged them both immediately. Congratulations. Sophia groaned. You're not shocked. Oh, I'm shocked, Adrianne said calmly. But mostly I'm happy. I squeezed Lena's hand. How are you feeling? Excited, she admitted. Terrified, Sophia added quickly. Adrianne laughed. That's called becoming parents. Sophia pointed at her. You're enjoying this too much. Of course I am. Then she leaned back in her chair. You two are about to experience the most chaotic and beautiful chapter of your lives. Lena smiled softly. We hope so. Later that night, Adrianne and I walked along the river after dinner. The city lights reflected in the water. Quiet. Peaceful. She slipped her hand into mine. You know something interesting? What? Watching them tonight. She paused. Made me think. I glanced at her. That's always dangerous. She smiled. Do you ever imagine it? Imagine what? Her voice softened. A bigger family. My heart skipped slightly. You mean, kids? Maybe. She didn't say it like a plan. More like a possibility. Something gentle. Something hopeful. I studied her expression. You'd be a terrifyingly organized parent. She laughed. That's not an answer. I leaned against her shoulder. Maybe someday. Her arm wrapped around me instantly. That's a good someday. When we returned to the apartment later that night, Adrianne pulled me close near the window. You know what the best part of today was? What? You still look at me the same way you did the night we met. How did I look at you? She brushed her thumb across my cheek. Like you already knew we were going to change each other's lives. I smiled softly. Maybe I did. She kissed me slowly. The same warm, certain kiss that had started everything. And in that moment, I realized something. The story that began with a broken engagement and a terrifying CEO had become something even more beautiful. A life. A partnership. A love that kept growing. Every single year. Success attracts many things. Respect. Opportunity. And sometimes, enemies. 2 years after Adrianne and I began running Vale Media Group together, the company had become stronger than ever. New global clients. New offices. And a reputation that made competitors nervous. Adrianne and I worked differently. She was instinct. I was strategy. Together, we were nearly impossible to outmaneuver. Almost. The attack came quietly. A rumor first. Then an article. Then a full investigation request. An anonymous source had accused Vale Media of financial manipulation during a global campaign contract. The media picked it up instantly. Headlines spread everywhere. Vale Media under investigation. Creative empire built on questionable deals? By noon, the boardroom was full. Lawyers. Directors. Advisors. Everyone talking at once. Adrianne sat at the head of the table, calm as always. But I knew her well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. "This accusation is fabricated," she said evenly. "But we will cooperate fully." The board chairman looked worried. This could damage the company's reputation. I leaned forward. "Then we prove them wrong." The room went quiet. Later that evening, Adrianne and I stood alone in her office. The same office where everything between us had started. The city lights glowed outside the windows. She looked tired. Not physically. Emotionally. "This isn't random," she said quietly. "No. You think it's a competitor." "I know it is." Her eyes narrowed. "Clara." I shook my head. "No." I slid a folder across the desk. She opened it. Her expression hardened instantly. Daniel Hart. One of the most aggressive media executives in the industry. A man who had tried to buy Vale Media twice. And hated being refused. "He's been trying to weaken our reputation for months," I said. "This investigation is just the next step." Adrianne leaned back in her chair slowly. "He wants the company." "Yes." Her lips curved slightly. "That was his first mistake." "And the second?" Her eyes met mine. "Thinking we wouldn't fight back." The next 2 weeks became a war. Lawyers. Audits. Press statements. And a full investigation into every financial document the company had ever produced. The stress was brutal. One night, I found Adrianne still working in her office at nearly 2 in the morning. Papers everywhere. Coffee untouched. I walked inside quietly. "You're doing it again." She didn't look up. "Doing what?" "Trying to carry everything alone." She sighed softly. "Elena, this company is ours." Now she looked at me. Her eyes softened immediately. "You're supposed to be sleeping. Not while you're here fighting a war." I stepped behind her chair and wrapped my arms around her shoulders. She leaned back against me. Just slightly. "You know what scares me," she said quietly. "What?" "That this could damage everything we built." I kissed the side of her head. "It won't." "You sound very confident." "I am." She turned in her chair and looked up at me. "Why?" "Because you're Adrianne Vale. And you married someone who refuses to lose." A small smile appeared. "That's true." The final board hearing happened 3 days later. Every director present. Every lawyer watching. The investigation report was placed on the table. The chairman cleared his throat. The final board hearing happened 3 days later. Every director present. Every lawyer watching. The investigation report was placed on the table. The chairman cleared his throat. "We have completed a full audit." The room was silent. Vale Media has committed no financial violations. Relief washed across the room. But the chairman wasn't finished. "We also discovered evidence that the accusation was intentionally fabricated by Daniel Hart's firm." Adrianne leaned forward slightly. "Do we have proof?" The chairman nodded. "Enough to file a lawsuit." Her eyes flashed. "Then we will." 3 months later. Daniel Hart's company settled the lawsuit quietly. Public apology. Financial compensation. And a permanent end to the investigation. Vale Media's reputation didn't collapse. It grew stronger. Because the world saw something important. When attacked, Adrianne Vale didn't fall. She fought. And she won. The night the case officially ended, Adrianne and I stood on the rooftop of our building again. The same place where we had once watched the city lights years ago. She wrapped her arms around me from behind. "You know something?" "What?" "You were right." "About what?" "That I didn't have to fight everything alone." I leaned back against her. "You never did." She kissed my temple softly. "You saved my company." I shook my head. "No." I turned around and looked at her. "We saved it." Her eyes softened. "You still choose me. Every day." Her voice dropped quietly. "Even when life gets complicated. Especially then." She pulled me closer and kissed me slowly. Not the passionate, breathless kiss from the beginning of our story. But something deeper. Something steady. The kind of love that survives storms. 5 years later. Vale Media had become one of the most powerful creative agencies in the world. Sophia and Lena's daughter ran through our office hallways sometimes. Adrianne still pretended she wasn't secretly her favorite person in the building. And every morning, There was still coffee waiting on my desk. Exactly the way I liked it. Adrianne still denied making it. I never argued. Some things didn't need proof. Because the truth was simple. Once upon a time, I took off a ring in a quiet bathroom and thought my life was falling apart. But it wasn't. It was just beginning. I chose honesty. I chose courage. And eventually, I chose her. The woman who taught me how to breathe again. And I kept choosing her. Every morning. For the rest of my life.